game week. We're going to keep Coach Dave for 20 minutes. We're going to open up front row, middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, what's different about their defense this year under Jesse Minter? It looks very similar, but I'm sure there's been some tweaks. What stands out maybe that's different from last year's defense?
Very similar. Like you said, a few tweaks here and there, but still very good players. And, they're playing very hard and, one of the best defenses in the country.
Second row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
A couple weeks ago, you were talking about Ty Hamilton, might have been last week, and you used this phrase, starter caliber. I was curious on the other side of the ball. How close are you to using that term with Dallin Hayden? And is he someone that you're confident enough in after the last 2 weeks to rely on him in a big way?
Yeah, hard to say, but to see the way he stepped up last week was certainly tremendous and encouraging as we move into this rivalry week, and great to see him taking care of the football. That's the number one thing we need, and so he'll have to have a good week of practice, and I know he's going to prepare hard to get ready to play in this game.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, similarly, like you guys, there's questions about who's healthy on their side of the ball, specifically Blake Corum. How do you go into this week with questions about a running back that's so important to their offense? How do you guys prepare? And do you have to do anything different if he's not on the field?
He's a great player. We're going to prepare for him to play. We expect him to play, and we'll just do the best we can. They're a very good offense. They have plenty of running backs, plenty of good players. So while he is very, very good, we'll just continue to prepare for all of them.
Fourth row left, Jacob Bench, the Lantern.
Hey Ryan, of course Saturday is the first version of the game in Columbus since 2018, and most of the undergraduate body at Ohio State hasn't seen that on campus or as a student, including myself. So just wanted to get your thought on that and how it's the first game between your team and their team, first time for you.
Yeah, 4 years. It's been a while, and being the 100th year anniversary is going to mean a lot more to a lot of people. On Saturday, we understand that, and there's nothing quite like the game, and certainly have learned so much over my time here at Ohio State about what this tradition means to so many across the country, and that's why we work the game so hard and take a lot of pride in being our best here. And this is our number one goal every season.
First row, front row left, Jared Smalley, WCMH.
Hi, Ryan. How much? I don't know if you can qualify this, but how much of the mentality of this team is shaped off what happened in Ann Arbor last year?
Well, I think you're shaped by whatever's happened in your past, and we have scars, and it motivated us all off season. So we've worked very hard to get to this moment right here, and now it's time to go prepare the best we can, and that's what we're going to focus on, physically, mentally, and emotionally, to go play the hardest game we've ever played. And we'll find out where we're at on Saturday.
Third row left, Dan Holt, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, in terms of the running back situation of Travion and Ryan, how much does that balance of how much they'll play on Saturday come down to how much they're able to practice during the week?
You're in week 12 here, so it's not like it's early in the season. These guys are experienced, so I think early in the year you'd say, well, if they hadn't practiced all week, it's going to be hard for them to play in a game. We'd like for them to practice, and we're going to plan on them to practice. But if they miss a little bit here and there to get healthy to go play in the game, then we'll adjust accordingly. But these are veteran players who have played a lot of football.
Third row middle, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, one advantage of Michigan's media day being yesterday is we get to follow up on what Jim Harbaugh says, which is usually a lot. He says there's no room for hate. This doesn't have to be hate in this game. But is there room for dislike, strong dislike? Where are you on this?
Well, it's one of the greatest rivalries there is in the country. And any time you're fighting tooth and nail to win the game because of what's on the line, there's friction at times. It's just the way it works. And, we try to just focus on ourselves, focus on respecting the rivalry by working it every day out of the year. And going to go play as hard as we possibly can on Saturday.
You said this is the toughest game you'll ever played. Is this a referendum a little bit on what you guys are and the whole issue? It'll come to the surface?
Well, I just think I think about my first year being the head coach here, and one of the first things we started off the whole press conference was it comes down to this game, and then you have to win every game after it. So it's not changed. It's been like this for 100 years here. So I get it. But obviously, this is a great opportunity. Both teams are undefeated. Two top, three teams in the country going together at the end of the year. This is what it's all about.
Right behind him, Tony Gerben, Buckeye Huddle.
So Ryan, this is your fourth year. You've been in the playoffs twice, championship game. You lose to Michigan last year, and you have so many questions, so many people questioning physicality, the toughness of the program. What's that been like?
Well, I think, when you focus on this year and the things that have been done, you've seen a lot of good play. You've seen us really work towards this moment right here. Listen, when you lose this game, it's a tough year. There's no hiding from that, but there's only one way to handle it. That's to go back to work, address the issues that you think need to get addressed. So when you go back to play the game, you're ready to roll. So we got, a few more days here to get ready to prepare. But up until this moment, we've done everything we can to get to this moment right here and be ready to go. And so, when you get to play on Saturday, you get to play with a lot of confidence because you've known you've been working towards this moment for so long. And then you go play as hard as you possibly can.
How many of the changes with the coaching staff or whatever happened because of that game?
I don't know if I could give you a number, but this is, we're evaluated by, the big games. That's the way it goes here. And certainly we know what comes with it.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Rivals 97.1.
Ryan, it didn't look good for Matthew Jones on Saturday. I don't know what his status is, but if you have to make a move there, it seems like an interesting decision because Josh could kick inside. It seems like he's been the sixth guy. Enoch's been maybe the first at guard. I know you have a week of practice to the decision to make, but what do you think might be the best way forward there? Yeah,
if need be, you got a couple options right there that we'll work through during the week and figure out if we do need to go to depth, who to choose. And a lot of that have to do with how the week goes and how Matt's feeling and how well those guys do and pick up the game plan.
How much ability do you think Josh has to play inside or outside there?
He's done it before. He's mostly been a tackle this year, but he's played on the tight end. You've seen him do that. He played a guard at some points in last year, sometimes the year before. So he has some experience going inside and outside.
Second row right, Doug Lane-Reese, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, in your career, what have you found the balance when it comes to revenge? When it comes to a game that you lost and now you're getting another shot, both in the year-long preparation for that and then the feelings of the guys on game day? What's your experience with that? What's the best way to handle it?
Well, I think you can't just get yourself going the week of. You have to build and try to recognize the things that you need to get better at and then address them, get them fixed so that when you're there again, you're more prepared for the moment. And that's really the focus of it. And I think you start talking about some of those other things, you can get distracted on what the most important thing is right now. And I think when you're playing an emotional game and a big game like this, the easy thing to do is say, let's just get to Saturday. Let me just get to the game. But we have to utilize every single minute. We have that countdown in our building, and every time a minute clicks off of that, there's one less minute for you to prepare for the game. So let's utilize every single minute we have to get ready to go, kick the ball off at noon so we're ready to roll.
You, in your head coaching career here, Ohio State's lost 4 games. Didn't play Bama again after that. Didn't play Oregon again after that. First game you guys lost, Clemson in that semifinal. You don't know that you're going to play them again, but you do get them the next year, and you guys are ready, and you win that game the second time. Is any of that instructive for this? That was an example of a year later, you get a team that had beaten you the year before, and how you guys handled that?
We haven't talked about that, but that was a different team and a different set of circumstances. But our guys know they felt the pain last year, and it led to simmer, and we had to chew on that for a whole year, and that's a long time. So we'll see what the corrections we've made. We'll see about the growth that we've made, and find out where we're at on Saturday. But I know you're going to get an excited team. But right now the focus has got to be on having an unbelievable week of practice, unbelievable week of preparation with our bodies, our minds, and our souls.
Right in front of him, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, you guys emphasize this game year-round, and you've done it in the past. And a year after a loss, is that something you talk about more, less? Do you do more team-up north drills? What's the balance in terms of trying to motivate year-round?
Yeah, there's a balance. We I won't get into exactly what we do, but there's a balance there. There's certainly, you need to be reminded of what happened in the past, but also the focus is on this team. The focus is on playing this team against their team on Saturday, because nothing else matters about that. But when you have that in the back of your mind, it certainly lights a fire every time it comes to the forefront of your mind.
Front row right, Dom Taveri, WBNS.
Coach, we imagine the shoe will be rocking. Do you have a message for the fans that'll be in the stadium, and what would it be?
Yeah, just that we need to be as loud as we possibly can. We got to make it a hostile environment. Anytime they have the ball, we got to be as loud as we possibly can. This game has been going along for a lot longer than I've been here, but I know how much it means to so many people, and for all the people that are going to be in the stadium, if their presence can be felt, that helps the Buckeyes.
Right behind him, played all WSYX.
Ron, did you change, other than senior tackle, change any other processes, the way you do your business each week?
No, I mean, that was the biggest change. We felt like last year things were a little bit rushed. We'd wake up in the morning, get in here, practice, have senior tackle, and then guys would be able to do their Thanksgiving. We decided to, move that. I know that there's been different, ways that they've done senior tackle here in the past. We decided to move that to really allow our guys to still have the afternoon with their families, but also spend more focused and more time on what really matters, and that's the game.
I know you have a checklist. How do you leave no stone unturned? Is it just plan your work, work your plan?
Not a lot of sleep.
How much will you get this week?
Not much.
Third or right, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, last week, Teron and Ty both said when they took the field in the spring, they felt a completely different defensive line. Same guys, but they felt completely different. Did you see that at that time? And then if so, what was different about it?
Again, I think our guys had a year under their belts. They played more. They won some games. They lost some games. They learned. They grew. They had a great offseason, and they're a year more mature. I think, that combined with, I think, again, our scheme and those guys embracing the aggressive style of our defense, I think that's where you get that.
When you play young guys like you had to last year, you're going to have growing pains. But seeing the success some of those guys are having right now and the depth that you've been able to add, you don't ever want to lose, but you feel like some of that, I imagine some of that probably helped you guys.
No, I know what you're saying. It's when you're playing young players. We had a very young, but also an inexperienced team. Even the guys who were a little bit older last year hadn't played a whole bunch. There's growing pains with that, as we know, and so you hope that experience is invested time well spent. Because when you have those growing pains and you lose games, hopefully that you can cash in down the road from those learning experiences. We'll find out.
Right next door, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Has Dalton Hayden's play elevated himself to a point where, having him healthy and running with conviction is better than 80-85% of one of these other guys? I mean, not just playing because they can play.
I think it's definitely worth a conversation. Yeah, I mean, I think when you start to see and you put on the film and the film speaks for itself, you got to make that decision of who's the best guy in this moment to go put on the field.
Right behind him, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, this game already has a lot of emotions, and you added 11-0. It's 11-0, first time here in 4 years. How much do you have to balance with these guys' discipline, but also allowing them to be emotional and play with emotion, but not too emotional so you don't get a cheap personal foul or a penalty that you're going to throw?
Yeah, I think there's the emotion leading up to the game, which is I think what you're saying, and I think that's why we have to have our routine and not deviate from our routine, because it is such a big week. There's so much emotion involved with it. You have to build towards noon on Saturday, but we have to have a great week of practice and preparation. But then same thing, during the game you have to play with emotion. You can't let emotion play with you. And the three things that we've really spent a lot of time in terms of our identification this year is: 1 is toughness, 2 is discipline, and 3 is skill. And so, if you can play with toughness but you don't have discipline, then it's no good. So those 3 areas are the areas that we have not deviated from all season, and we're going to hold ourselves to that standard.
Deep center, Jeremy Birmingham, Rivals.
Ryan, you guys, have tried all year long to prevent any sort of complacency from stepping in or creeping into the program, but you're 11 games in and haven't completed one of the 3 goals that you set at the preseason, right? So how challenging has this season been, and does it feel like the season really starts now, and that this has been the longest preseason in the history?
It's when you say it like that, and I'm the one who says it. It can be sobering, but that's just the standard we hold ourselves to. I'm still very, very proud of what how our team's grown and built to this point right here. But we'll talk about that later. What we need to do is, we know these 3 goals were going to happen at the end of the season. If we played this game, the first game of the year, then we would have that challenge right then and there. But we know in order to get to the other two goals, we have to get this one, and we knew it going in. We knew that's why competitive stamina was a huge theme for us this season. Is you got to bring it every single week as you build and play your best football at the end of the season. So here we are. We've talked about it. It's another thing to do it, and so now we got to go put a great week together and try to accomplish this first goal.
Are you happy with the competitive stamina of the team? Do you feel like you guys are playing the football level you want to be right now?
I think every week you grow and you build and you prepare, and each week is its own season. I just look at it like that. But along the way, you have to continue to grow and enhance, and we'll kind of find out at the end of the season. We'll have a chance to reflect on that. In the meantime, we're just going to work as hard as we can to get as prepared as possible to play this game on Saturday.
Fourth row right, Bill Bender, the Sporting News.
Coach, you guys haven't lost a Big Ten home game since 2015, and you mentioned the 100th year of the stadium. I mean, what to you, other than having a really good team, makes Ohio Stadium such a good home field advantage, especially in these Big Ten games? I mean, it showed up this year, too. They haven't been close.
Well, first off, we have the best fans in the land. Our guys enjoy playing in our stadium. I think, it's a hostile environment. I think it's a hard place to play in, and I think that, our guys really enjoy being here, and I think, anytime you have all those things mixed up into one, then that's why you have what you have. So, and it's been a while since we played this game at home. I think what you said was, I guess, four years. Yeah. So, and that's part of, what every Ohioan and person part of Buckeye Nation, wants to be a part of this game at home in the shoe. So, I know it's going to be an electric atmosphere.
Second row left, Stephen Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach. Just assessing the offensive line, it seemed the first half you guys had real problems getting the running game going the way that you wanted to. In the second half, with Dallin Hayden running behind the same offensive line, things worked out much better. Just how did you assess their play over the entire 4 quarters, and are they ready for this challenge this week, I guess?
I after watching the film, we had several guys grade out champions. I thought some guys played very well in the game. I think Maryland did a good job. They played really hard. They challenged, but I thought we gotten a little bit more rhythm, like you said, in the second half. I think a little bit of that was just blocking it a little bit cleaner, but I also thought that we hit the hole a little bit better as the game went on.
Right next door, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
I don't want to word this right here. I don't know how much you pay attention to what other programs say, what other people have said outside of this program, but you've emphasized toughness a lot this season, maybe more than any other season you've had. You guys have some of the leadership stuff in the summer, in the off-season, 2 leadership groups, and things were said after that Michigan game coming out of that program from coaches. How much of that were you aware of, and how much of that has been on your program's mind this off-season as you guys have kind of pushed some of the stuff, the leadership and the toughness stuff,
Sure.
and now you've approached things this season?
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing in a game like this, there's always going to be, back and forth and things said, and obviously you see things and read things, but there's also a lot of it you try to ignore. But sometimes it matters, who says it too, and how much, consideration you give it. But at the end of the day, we got beat in that game, and we had to figure out why that was. A lot of people have opinions when you lose a game, and we had to identify what was real and what wasn't, and try to go from there. But we certainly don't get caught up in other people's opinions. We cherish ours and try to make great decisions on how to move forward, and that's what we did.
Far right, Adam James, WBNS 10TV.
When you go off the loss of last year and the bulletin board stuff and all of that, how tough can it be to rein in the emotions this week and make sure that you're not making this game bigger than it actually needs to be?
I think that's the balance you try to find. Yeah, is that it is extremely emotional, but you also have to go do a job and play a game. And if you get over emotional or you get too caught up in all that, then you can start to act out of character, and that can't happen. But we also know what's at stake. So there is a fine line there that we are going to find.
Front row, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Your two predecessors made their reputation in part on success in this game. You're 1-1. How much pressure do you feel personally, not just to coach them to win this game? I mean, how much pressure do you feel?
I mean, I think anytime you're here and you're playing in this game, you're going to feel it. Doesn't matter, what your record's been. You feel it anytime you're, at Ohio State because you know what's on the line. But, we're not going to sit here and start to think about all that. We're going to just really focus on, having a great week of preparation and playing really, really hard. And then, when it's all said and done, we'll look back and kind of see, where all the tally marks are. But to me, this has nothing to do with anything other than this team and just preparing this team to play as hard as we possibly can on Saturday and then going from there.
If you win, do you think it'll be more joy or relief?
I don't know. Maybe, after the game we can kind of figure out where we're at again, and try to discuss that. But I'm just trying to focus on figuring out what to call on first, second down, third down, short yardage, goal line. And, because I think you can start to think about all those things like you're saying, which I think are all really valid questions. But it's like what really matters right now. What matters is getting these guys a really good game plan, getting practice organized, and having a really good day. And that's what I'm going to focus on right now. And then we'll come up for air, on Saturday afternoon after the game.
Final questions, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Oh, thank you very much, Jerry. Oh, well, congratulations on that Buckeye leaf. When somebody says you're born on third base and think you hit a triple, where does that sit with you in insults you've endured during your career?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it right now. Maybe there's another time to hit on that. But like I said, there's certain things you listen to, there's certain things you don't. And anytime you're at a high profile game with a lot of stuff going on, there's a lot of things said. But there's a time and a place to talk about that, and it's not now.
Toughness is the word this week. It was taken into question last year after this game and stuff. Toughness of this football team. You've addressed that through the season and stuff. What has told you that this team is tough now, tough enough, so to speak? Obviously, the ultimate test comes Saturday, but and I'm looking at y'all. Y'all have had at least 3 games go into the fourth quarter up in the air, and y'all won those games. That's as much a sign of toughness, I would think, as anything else. But what just tells you you've got a tough football team?
Well, when you talk to other coaches after the game, and just what do you think? And you get a lot of great feedback in that area. And you guys are playing hard, you're playing tough, you're playing physical. Guys are disciplined, they're where they're supposed to be, they're well coached. You hear all those things over and over again, and that just means that we've done it. So we wanted to make it our identity. I think we've built that as the season's gone on, and but all that building was to get to right here.
But as a coach, you'd rather a game already be done at halftime, I would think. You know what I mean? But what does that, in retrospect, having to win games in the fourth quarter, do for a team from a standpoint of confidence, whatever you want to call it?
Well, it builds resilience. It builds that toughness. It builds that perseverance. That no matter what happens in the game, it's not going to go perfect. You got to keep fighting. You got to keep growing. You got to keep building. And your backs are up against the wall. What are you going to do? And we felt that a little bit here. Certainly the Rose Bowl was kind of the one there. We started to turn it a little bit, and then the Notre Dame game, and then the Penn State game, and even last week. So, that resilience has been tested. And again, all these were trial runs for right now.
I goofed up. One last question. Bill Landis, Rivals.
Ryan, you saw, Chris Olave in this game at 18 as a true freshman make a real impact. I know Dallin has a larger body of work at this point than Chris did then, but what are the conversations like when you're trying to decide whether or not a relatively inexperienced true freshman can handle a spot like this?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think I mentioned that earlier, was that the blueprint's already there for guys like that, whether it was, Marvin and Emeka in the Rose Bowl, or, Garrett Wilson, back in 19, had a huge game there. Olave in 18, guys kind of build, and then hopefully you can count on them late in the season. So, we'll see. I think the number one job for Dallin is you got to take care of the football. That's the number one thing. Anytime we hand you the football, you got to take care of that, because turnovers are going to be huge in a game like this. So he's going to keep preparing and keep growing and keep building this week. And, you never quite are prepared, for a moment like this until you actually get in it, and I know because of, the way the game went in 17, when JT went down in the first, or had the knee, and, before the game even started, and Dwayne went in the game. So, But at the end of the day, I think like we talked about, it comes down to your preparation. You got to trust all your preparation up to this point and focus on just having a great week of practice.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, folks, we're going to transition right into
They
Coach
won.
Knowles here, and we're going to keep him for only 10 minutes. Going to open up the floor, front row right, Austin Ward, rivals.
Jim, I asked last week about Tommy playing with one broken hand. I didn't realize that I needed to ask about the other one being broken. The toughness that he's showing, the way he's playing through that, beyond just trying to find ways for him to tackle, the toughness that he's shown, where does that rank among some of the guys you've worked with?
Tommy's as tough as they come, as tough as any player I've been around, and he kind of epitomizes what we want to be as a defense, and I think as a program, because nothing is going to stop him. No matter what the circumstance or the injury, he's going to show up.
Second row right, Doug Lamery, Cleveland.com.
Jim, what do you think of the rivalry?
It's a privilege to be a part of it. When you're a guy who works his way up to get to this spot, there's not time for reflection now, hopefully someday, but just to be a part of it is, I guess, when you're young and in the profession, you look at it as the pinnacle, of competition, and it's a privilege to be a part of it.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
Coach, you weren't here last year when all the talk of toughness and finesse hit, but there were a lot of conversations about this defense. How much do you hear that from these guys? How much do you try to, push these guys to lean into that and prove it on Saturday?
I don't hear it. I don't talk about it. Don't really think about it. I know the charge I was given when I got here, and we've taken off from there. And I know that toughness is a pivotal part of everything Coach Day does and Coach Mick does in the weight room. So, I've embraced it, and we're doing everything possible to carry that on defense.
Third row middle, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, you've been part of some pretty big rivalries. Bedlam, Bull, Colgate.
Penn is Cornell's rival, not Colgate. Come on. Yeah, Thanksgiving Day, man, for years. Penn. Yeah.
How's this stack up for what you see? I know it's early in the week, and I know you guys don't like to compare, but I'm asking you to do so a little bit. Do they all have the same thread through them, whether it's dislike or guys not getting too emotional? How do you handle that, and what have you seen?
Yeah, there's the same thread through every rivalry I've ever been associated with of intensity. But this is it's the biggest stage there is. So you just take all that and you ramp it up by 1,000, and you go from there. You do everything you can to stay focused and do your job in the midst of it, because there's a job to do.
Right behind him, Andy Anders, Buckeye Sports Bulletin.
I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about what you see from J.J. McCarthy as far as his mobility. I know Talia had a couple scrambles last week, gave you some issues, kind of first mobile quarterback you've seen since DeJuan Finn, and how you kind of intend to keep him hemmed in.
Well, I mean, I think we have a hard-charging, aggressive defensive line, and I think that anytime you have guys who really get after it, scrambling can be an issue. So we continue to work on it, I guess I'll say. We'll keep practicing. That's all. I mean, it's definitely an issue though when you have guys that are going to get after the quarterback, and I'm glad we have them. Now it's my job to fix it.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
whether it was Toledo, to follow up on that, whether it was Toledo, Maryland, even Penn State to a lesser degree, I don't think Clifford traveled that much, but how do you scheme for that when it's an element of a playmaker? He's just a playmaker. You did everything the right way, and then he got loose anyway, and instead of it being a 4-yard loss, it's a 14-yard game. I know you can coach it, how to contain it, but how do you actually scheme for something?
Well, you have different ways to do it. I'm not going to get technical here, but you put some plans together. But ultimately, it does come down to your athletes versus their athlete, and you just do everything you can to put guys into position, but it does become like controlled chaos, right? I mean, we try to make all these moves and chess pieces, and we think we're doing a good job of it, but sometimes it's hard to control the uncontrollable. So you give your guys the best shot, and then it's a matchup, and you go from there.
Fourth row right, Bill Bender, the morning news.
I think you kind of answered it with the last question, but what does their rushing attack pose the biggest challenge for you guys in preparing for it? And in all these years you've done this, is there another team who, I'm thinking like Kansas State or something, where you played them and it was really difficult to prepare for the way that they run the football?
Yeah, Kansas State in the Big 12. I certainly at Duke lived my share of option football with Army, Navy, and Georgia Tech, and it's difficult to simulate, the way that they run the ball. So you just got to go back to your habits and your training. You got, again, put guys in great position. Make sure everybody knows that everybody has to tackle. I think that's a mentality that goes, everybody has to tackle, because they're going to put corner, safety, anybody, they're going to put different people into position where you have to make the tackle. So it's really a mentality. You scheme against it some, difficult to practice. It's just a matter of habits and everything you've worked for to this point, in all your strength training and all of, the extra work you did over the summer. That all comes into play when push comes to shove.
Deep right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman row.
Jim, they run the ball a lot, obviously, but they also throw the ball to running backs out of the field,
Excuse me.
tight ends, put you in different matchups. How do you balance knowing how much you have to stop the run, but also understanding that out of the backfield they can really do some damage?
Yeah, well, they're a complete offense, and they challenge you in a lot of different ways. So, you have to have some different things that you can go to at different times to try to keep the offense off balance. That's really the only way to answer the question is, those points that you mentioned, the things that they do, and they do it well. You just got to counterattack, and that's what we've been working on all year.
Second row right, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Jim,
Travels.
That's okay. You said maybe back in the spring that the jack position, Leo position, was first conceived as more of a run game disruptor than anything else. Does this game put that position in more of a spotlight with as much as Michigan likes to use pullers in the triangle?
Yeah, I definitely feel that it is a tool, in our toolbox to be able to handle all the different things that an offense like this throws at you, and it's definitely a fix-it tool for us, and we've worked hard to get it ready.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
When you came here and we asked if you had watched tape of players, you said no, everything's a blank slate. How much did you study last year's Michigan game, and is there a way to quantify how much time you've put into preparing for this game?
I haven't put any time into last year's game, and there's no way to quantify the time that's gone into the preparation. It's just constant.
Right behind him, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
stepping back to last week, and I know that Maryland's offense and Michigan's offense very different, but the defense allowed 2 75-yard touchdown drives in the second half, but also kind of made some key stops. Just how did you evaluate that performance relative to how you feel this defense is sort of ready for this moment?
You know, I thought it was great when we made key stops and plays, and I thought it sucked when we didn't, you know. I mean, it's, you know, it's like, man, that, you know, but the good part about it is, you're right, we were off on some things, and, you know, I see it, we all see it, and we know we have to get better. But the good part is, I think the competitive excellence that Coach always talks about, and the defense has developed that in key situations this year. We have not been perfect. I think we've trended upwards, but when the times have come that we needed to make plays, we have. So I think that's a good sign.
Front row, middle. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, considering you were hired just a couple weeks after a loss to Michigan, in a loss where you guys gave up 42 points, what sort of, I guess, personal stakes, weight on your shoulders do you feel just going into this game for the first time?
You know, the job is the job. It's like I've said before, the process for me is the same. It's just that the expectations are different, you know. So you keep your process and your habits intact because that's what leads you to success. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to be numb not to feel it. You feel it, you know. But you stay focused on the moment and what can I do to give us an advantage? That's really the only thing that's always on my mind, right? And for me to feel this or feel that, or it doesn't give me any advantage, you know. So I want to always be pressing to find ways to give our defense an advantage.
Right next door, Tim May, Letterman Road.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Jim, I'm just wondering, number one, are you perusing everything? Are you and your staff perusing everything to try to find out, is Blake Corum going to play or not? He is a special player. You understand? And then past that, his ability to hit the bounce to the outside, I think, really sets him apart. I mean, he's tough and everything else, but what is the key to not getting burned by that? I mean, is it eye control, discipline, whatever? But in a game of this magnitude, how do you keep everybody from running to the fire, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. First question, we're not spending any time investigating whether he's playing or not, just assuming he's going to play. He's an exceptional back, like you said, very talented. And, yeah, it has a lot to do with discipline, you know, and understanding angles and taking your shot when you have it, but on the appropriate angle, and playing hard within the scheme. So a lot to do with discipline, because if you're out of place, he'll make you pay for it.
And final questions, fourth row right, Tony Gerben, Buckeye Huddle.
You said, what can you do to give you the guys an advantage? It's always the thing that's always on your mind. Where is it? Where's the most random place where it's been on your mind and you're like, oh, this might do something, like at home, out, like how often does it come up?
It's never not on my mind, ever.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. All right, folks, that'll wrap it up. All right, folks, we have Cade Stover over here for about 10 minutes.
Cade, for any athlete at a high level, how much is a previous loss or some kind of revenge a motivating factor? How do you handle that both through the course of a year and on a game day when you lost to a team the year before?
Just every loss you take always means you hold on to that until you can win the next game. So you carry that wherever you go, and you hopefully bring it in the next game.
How much have you thought about that loss in the last year?
I mean, we think about it, any kind of loss, it hurts you. So when you think about it, it sticks with you in the stadium. So I mean, we're trying to get a taste of it.
How impressed are you the way this team has rebounded from that? Obviously, y'all haven't lost since then, including the Rose Bowl, et cetera. But what do you see about this team that's different compared to this time a year ago, Cade?
We got a good tight-knit group of guys with us here. Just overall feeling in this locker room, people we got around us, we got a really good group of guys. Like I said just a second ago, that's really what it comes down to. We got around you, and we got the right people around us.
How much did some of the people who were involved in that game last year, from a coaching standpoint, calling out you guys for not being as physical, they knew they could get after you guys, et cetera? How much motivation did that serve for you fellas?
Quite a bit.
Cade, as a kid who grew up watching the rivalry and around the rivalry, did you really even understand it until you got into a game like that and felt the difference in the way that the hitting is, the way that the intensity is? I mean, every game's intense, but that one obviously is different. Were you guys ready for that?
Yeah, I mean, we're growing up in the state helps as far as understanding the rivalry. I mean, it's the greatest rivalry in all the sports. So when you come here, it's heightened even more, to a greater magnitude at that point. So yeah, we'll be ready.
Cade, you've gotten close to CJ over the years. Just as you see him going into this game, what do you get from his mentality and how he's approaching this as a quarterback who certainly wants to beat Michigan before he leaves?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great, hard-working, focused guy. I mean, that's what he's going to take into this week with him here, and we'll be ready.
Cade, what's it been like living with the loss for the last year?
I mean, nobody wants to live with a loss. It sucked. So, I mean, we're trying to get a taste of it.
Cade, you lived with Tommy. He's playing with, I guess, two messed up hands. What would you want to say about how he's endured this toughness? What do you think of this team?
It's a tough kid. Tough kid, my best friend. So, I mean, I'm always proud of the world with that guy. Stand beside him until we're done playing.
You play defense, obviously. I mean, how hard is it to play with either of your hands?
He's good. He's always healthy. Tommy. We got to worry about that.
Have you had to help him around the house more, like open things for him, or?
No, you got it. You got it.
Okay.
Cade, what stands out to you when you watch Michigan's defense on film?
Good team, long, athletic. Just a good overall team. Be a good test for us.
Hey, you brought up Tommy Eichenberg, somebody did. Steele's the same way. These two guys, compared to this time a year ago, what do you see that's really different about the way they're playing, et cetera, here now, almost a full season into the Jim Knowles defense? But what have you noticed that's different about them?
Just good, confident, quick, no hesitation. See it, read, go get it.
Yeah,
that's good. So I got to play defense, instinctual, and understrength on it.
Have y'all talked about that? I mean, sometimes when you got a little free time, I mean, about.
No, we try and keep it.
I don't mean about X's and O's, but just about the difference. You know what I mean?
When we were all on defense, we did a little bit, just trying to feel things out. How was my team, but I mean, we try and keep it. We got plenty of other stuff to talk about. We'll talk about that here.
Like Braveheart?
Yeah.
Cade, when the idea of Ohio State's toughness is brought up at all, how does that make you feel? Do you have a visceral reaction to that at all?
To be honest with you, I really can give a shit what anyone else says about our toughness. I know we're not here, what we got going on with us, and I mean, what else people say outside this program, it doesn't matter. So we know what we got, we know what we brought ourselves on. That's what we're trying to do.
Can you describe how you think toughness factors into any football team being a great team? How important is toughness in that equation?
This is how the game's got to be played. It's how this game's had to be played for hundreds of years now. And if you don't have that, you're lacking most important pieces.
What define toughness for me though, from a football standpoint? What tells you a player is tough? A football player is tough. I mean, like I just asked Ryan Day, you guys have had to win 3 games or so in the fourth quarter this year. That's a sign of toughness also, right? Of being in it to the finish. I mean, what defines toughness in your mind?
Good question. In my mind, you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it. Yeah. So you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it. You can tell by something by listening to walks around. We either about it or not about it. That's all I know.
You said you didn't care about what people were saying from the outside about the toughness, but what were you guys saying inside about your toughness coming out of that game last year? And was it kind of a soul-searching moment for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, after every loss, I mean, there's always, you're trying to find why it happened, the reason why it happened, and what to fix it. So that's what we kind of did, kind of rallied around, found weak points, tried to hone in on that in the offseason.
Cade, you'll have an NFL decision to make after the season. Have you thought at all about this could possibly be your last home game?
No, I haven't thought. I mean, that's the last thing I'm thinking about right now. So.
Kate, how is Tommy holding the euchre cards with 2 broken hands?
What's that?
How's Tommy holding euchre cards with 2 broken hands?
Steele's got a shuffle for him.
Everybody's talking about toughness with the players. What about the coaches? Have you noticed, has Coach Day, have the expectations been higher? Was Mickey tougher on you guys during the offseason than the year before? Like, players, it's not just the players thing.
Everybody. It's everybody around the joint, custodians, managers. If we're going to buy into something, everybody buys into it in this place, and that's how it's got to be. If you want a culture change, or you want a culture change, or a culture boost, it doesn't matter. And that's kind of what happened here.
Was it physically tougher?
Yeah. I mean,
and emotionally also?
Yeah, it's always tough. Off season's tough. Winter training's tough. Summer training's tough. Summer runs are tough. Yeah, it's just heightened to a point where it helped us break us down, so we're up.
As you sit here right now, when you had a couple of pretty good games catching the football, how long can this last? You know what I mean? With tight ends in the past, you know what I mean? But now evolved into an integral part of just of the passing game, other than pass pro. What has that meant to you, Cade? Have you kind of, I don't know, proven a point, or what has it meant to you to be looked at in that regard of both a good blocker, but also an integral part of catching the ball?
It means a lot. Just super big blessing just to be able to be a part of it. Supporting and all the great talent we got around here. So, but I just look at it like you take it day by day. As long as you win a game, it really doesn't matter what you're catching, what you're doing. Do what you got to do to win that game.
Yeah, but you look at any kind of big time game anymore. I mean, NFL, whatever. A lot of times the tight end makes the big catch, or a couple of big catches which make a difference. Do you sense that too? That just could come down to a catch by you on Saturday. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you think about that ever since you were a kid. Playing in the backyard, it's always came to put yourself in a scenario, whether it's a last shot of basketball, you're on the court with the light on underneath it, you're shooting the same shot 27 times, thinking in your mind you're counting down to 5, 4, you know what I mean? You put yourself in a situation where if it doesn't prevail itself to where you're ready to do it.
How much has CJ being willing to run the last several games helped this offense, in your opinion?
Like I said, I mean, he's very talented, very athletic, gifted, smart guy. I mean, the ball in his hands is always a safe place.
The 30-catch milestone, you're the first Ohio State tight end to pass it in 19 years. I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. Is that, I know you're a team first guy. Does that mean anything to you, passing the 30-catch milestone?
I mean, yeah. I'm pretty sure you guys are the ones that say I catch about 10 of them, but I guess it doesn't matter, right? Yeah, it's just what, the way it's shaked out now, and which will be built on.
But we've seen a lot of starry-eyed tight ends, go into a season thinking they're going to get those catches, and they didn't. What do you think you proved in the receiving game to make you valuable up to this point?
I don't know.
Is it the run after the catch? I mean, go ahead.
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not the right guy to ask about that.
Yeah.
Is there an NFL tight end you kind of model yourself after? Is it a combination of guys like Kelsey?
Jeremy Shockey.
Shockey?
Yeah, I love Jeremy Shockey. I love Gronkowski. I watched a little bit of Mark Andrews.
Kate, I'm sorry to ask about this, but given that you're from Ohio, and you grew up watching this rivalry for most of your life, Ohio State has dominated this. Did you take it any more personal coming off from last year's loss? And how have you seen your teammates kind of respond throughout the offseason?
Yeah, it was a football game. Its own. Especially in a place like this, you lose a football game, lose a big one like you did last year. It's home. You're just trying. I mean, you're basically just trying to hone in on what I said earlier, as far as points, weak points, and whatnot. Just grow on those. Ready to next game.
Your redshirt year. What do you remember about the game? Obviously, it worked out very well for you guys. What do you remember your redshirt year in 2018?
I think I traveled. I think I was sitting on my couch with my parents.
Oh,
that game was.
Oh, you still in high school?
No, I was still in high school.
Oh, yeah,
that's-
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, you were.
No, that's right. It was so long ago. You're still in high school. My fault. 19 was your first year. My fault.
Y'all got robbed of 20, right? Of having them here.
Yeah, we didn't play.
How much of a hole did that leave with that team of not getting to play that game? Not that anybody's to blame, but I mean, what
Right.
did it feel like? Almost unfulfilled season in some respects. Although y'all did play for a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, that whole year was just weird. The way things shook out, the way you walk in here one day and then walk back out 20 minutes later because there's still been positive cases. So it's just weird. Just kind of one of those years. Just kind of put behind you.
A lot of people saw this game coming months ago, that it could be 2 versus 3 or 1 versus 2, undefeated and stuff. Did you kind of get a sense that this collision was going to happen this year, Cade? I mean, as a player, I mean, did you kind of keep up with what they were doing, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, yeah. But then again, I mean, up to this point, we're still tough. 11 other teams we got to play, so we're still focused on that. Just the way kind of things happen to play out here when we both undefeated playing the game.
But was so.
I feel like I know a lot more than what I knew going in. So just ready to play.
What's it like living a year with that loss?
Yeah, it's difficult for sure. There's not really too much you can say about it. We just got beat last year straight up. So really focusing a lot of our energy this year into beating them. Whether that was summer workouts, winter workouts, strength and conditioning, all that kind of been focused on them because that's our first goal every year. We did take care of business last year, so we know what we got to do this year.
Did anything change with how you guys approach the offseason? You lose a game like that, the way you lost it, just from a player's perspective?
Yeah, from a player's perspective, I feel like there's a lot more leadership going into this offseason. And even, Coach Mick, he's the best strength coach around, but, he stepped it up too. We all just felt like we needed to pull a little bit more of our weight. So we ended up doing that, making the adjustments that we need to be made so that we're able to execute this game coming up.
But you, say a week or two ago, 1 or 2 of those drops have rubbed you the wrong way. You're doing a little bit of that shred too. Come up with the big throw over your shoulder and then the third down late from CJ, you able to adjust. Is that gratifying to you've shown that progress and now you're making this tough catch and you're doing what you want, or just part of the job, I guess?
Yeah, just part of the job, I would say. CJ put the balls where they were needed to be, and I was able to make plays on them. So it's something I expect to do, not something that really I'm taken aback by, because we do it every day in practice. We're continually working our craft, so just focusing on executing the plays to the best of our ability. So
when you're over there on the Monarch today, how much have you changed the weekly routine recently just to make sure that everything is where you need it to be this time?
I feel like it's been relatively the same. I feel like the main goal of my week is to get my body back by Saturday. So really spend a lot of time in the training room, getting my legs right, my shoulders, all that type of stuff. Making sure I'm able to play at full capacity, because being healthy is probably one of the most underrated things that comes with being a football player. Like, if you feel healthy, your game's at a whole new level. So just staying in the training room, getting right with the guys, and getting on the Monarch before practice, get your hands activated on that type of stuff.
CJ said after the game, you've been dealing with a lot more stuff physically than we know about, or that you don't want to use that as an excuse. I know that. I mean, what percent do you think you've been playing at for the last few weeks?
Sure. Well, there's a saying that you're never going to play a football game at 100%. So, this season has been a battle for a lot of guys on the team. They might not show it, but everyone's going through something physically, mentally, emotionally. So I would say you're never really playing the game at 100%, but your goal is to get as close as you can by Saturday. And with the help of our training staff and our strength staff and our coaches, and all the outlets they give us here at Ohio State, they end up doing a good job of that.
How do you, after as you brought up a drop, how do you mentally, like cornerbacks, you got to put the last play behind you no matter what happens, is the mantra. How do you do that as a receiver and stuff? How many targets you're going to get in the game anyway, but have you learned how to manage that? You understand?
Yeah, it's the same principle. Just put it behind you. Nothing you can do about it. Obviously, it kind of sucks in the moment, but the next play might be 3rd and 10. The next drive might be the game-winning drive. So got to really hone in on those next plays coming up.
Emeka, you guys have won at least 3 games this year in the fourth quarter, taking to the fourth quarter. What have y'all learned about, I guess, the toughness from that aspect of being a team of, you know, no matter what it takes, you get the job done at the end of the day? How does that help this team, I guess, now looking back on it, headed into this game?
I feel like that's an area where we've drastically improved since last year. And I think it started really with the Rose Bowl and just coming out in the second half way stronger than we did in the first half. That's something that we kind of emphasized and hung our hat on in the offseason. So, we broke up the offseason into quarters. And, once we got to the fourth quarter of the offseason, that was really the toughest environment that we had to face, whether that was, 3-hour lifts or, team runs and all that type of stuff. So Coach Mick did a really good job of training us for that. And the leaders stepped up in that moment. CJ, Cade Stover, all these type of guys, they step up in those moments in the fourth quarter when you really need them. And they're here for the team, and they set the example and they set the tone of what the next few drives are going to look like.
When did it kind of hit you that Dallin Hayden, if needed, would be mature enough to handle the role as a true freshman? You're a pretty mature guy yourself. He comes across very mature. But when did it kind of hit you that this guy, if we need him, he's mature enough to handle it?
Yeah, he's always handled his business ever since he stepped into the building. Dallin's a guy that really, he's been working hard at the running back position, kind of learning from guys like Trey and Mayan, and he's done a great job thus far this season. As you guys can see, he scored 3 touchdowns last game, so stepping into that role is really big. And you don't really want to bottleneck someone by saying, oh, he's a freshman, he should only do so much. But at the end of the day, he's an all-around football player, and he did a great job in that game for us.
How hard is it to replicate the intensity of this week when you're training for it in the off season, during the season? I mean, it's a different feel around here this week, but can you replicate that intensity, that feeling, those butterflies knowing it's game?
Something that I always say is that, it's a slow build. So you kind of don't want to let your emotions get the best of you early in the week. You're slow building towards Saturday till the foot hits the ball. So, we're kind of let those emotions stir up and bottle up. We're going to let it all fly on Saturday.
How hard is it to just stay emotionally connected to the season? Like, you guys have 3 goals at the start of the season, right? Mm-hmm. It's now week 12, and you are just getting your first chance to get one of them. Mm-hmm. Has that made this last 3 months that much harder?
Well, we always know our 3 goals are going to come in the backstretch of the season, so we kind of just been focusing on staying on pace. And, every game is as important as the next one. So kind of just staying on pace, staying consistent, executing the way that we need to. And now we're looking at all 3 of our goals right in the face. We have a huge opportunity, so it's time to just tough up and go get them.
Emeka, you campaigned for. It seemed like when they motion you and the ball, you're pretty effective there. Are you mentioning that to people in the building and asking for a couple more carries here and there?
I don't say, you don't really try to ask them anything. You ask them what you can do to help the team succeed. So I've been trying to do my best in that way, whether that's blocking on the perimeter, catching passes, running the ball, special teams. So whatever it takes for our team to win, I'm going to do.
Have you enjoyed that aspect of this offense where I think there's been a couple games where you've had 3 or 4 games. There's been a couple games where you've had one, but it's been effective. Do you like doing that? Is that something you enjoy doing, just getting the ball in your hands and letting you go to work, or would you rather be out there consistently just running around?
I do enjoy it. I like just having the rock in my hands, and I feel like I'm able to do some things with it in my hands. So, and it also helps set up the offense for different plays, whether that's play action or running up the middle with motions, just to keep the defense in check and stuff like that. So, I feel like it's been an asset for our offense this far this season. So, I'm gonna keep building on that, and hopefully I can do something special when I carry the ball.
I know in recruiting there's a ton of talk about this game and what this rivalry means. But you're from West Coast. You're not someone that grew up inundated in it. Were you surprised at what it felt like to go into that stadium last year? And do you think that you were adequately mentally prepared for what this rivalry means to you?
I would say I was absolutely not prepared at all. I didn't really know what it meant until you really played in it, and I probably still wouldn't know what it meant unless we lost to them last year, and we did. So I feel like us as a team, we kind of got into a lull, just beating them year after year. Kind of got into last year expecting the same, so that was kind of a wake-up call for us. But now the rivalry's back, full force, so we're ready to go take them on.
Is that something that you've had to express to the freshmen who are here now, the young guys that were not in that game a year ago?
As much as you express it, they're not going to understand. You know, not until you play them, not until you play them or you lose them. So, yeah.
I don't want to. You're 19, 20 years old, which means your entire life, you just kind of said it. You just thought you were going to walk in there and win it again. Well, that's what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
You're not used to seeing the other way. So, how does that more invest you when the first time you get to play them and be a part of a game that you thought, oh, Ohio State wins this game, even if it is all this extra stuff?
Mm-hmm.
How does that further invest the kid from Washington into this rivalry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, playing them, you know, I do truly believe it's the greatest rivalry in the world, especially after playing them. And I feel like this game is going to be one that goes down in history, one for the books. So I feel like that last year's experience helped me, you know, like you said, really invest myself into the culture of Ohio State and the culture of the rivalry. And, you know, I fully understand what it means now.
Is there a different mindset when you know that your role and whether you win or lose is a little bit more expanded? Last year you were the kick returner and kind of went back into other spaces. Is there extra emphasis for you just because you know you can actually help this team win this year in a different on the field on Saturday, not just in practice?
Yeah. Even if I wasn't playing, there's tons of roles that every guy has, whether that's, you know, cheering on the team or making sure guys are right to play, they have the right gear, they have all that type of stuff. So, you know, we don't want anyone's role to go unnoticed. We need all hands on deck to win this game, all 120 players. So we need everybody to be prepared to do their job and execute properly so that we're able to win.
Ultimately, what's different about this game? Is the hitting that much harder? Is the crowd that much more intense? I mean, last year pregame, I remember being on the field, there was a lot of crowd noise chattering at you guys early. I mean, what did you think, like, surprised you about the difference from what you expected versus what it was?
I would say it's all of the above, the things you just mentioned. This game is very personal to everyone on the field and everyone in the stands. So I think that's a little bit of what makes it different, you know, when you play someone who's not your rival or just not a conference game or anything like that. Obviously you want to win and you want to execute the right way, but there's not bad blood between the teams like there is here. So, you know, we're ready to, you know, step into that ring on Saturday and, you know, give it our all and come out here with the dub.
Emeka, what has Xavier Johnson meant to this team this year?
You know, I feel like a couple of people have said he's a Swiss Army knife. He does everything. He's on all 4 special teams units. You know, running back, wide receiver. He can play DB if you really need him to. So he's kind of he's ready to step into any role that, you know, Coach Day or anyone on the staff gives him, and he executes it to his full potential. So he's someone I really look up to when it comes to just doing your job and doing it the right way.
How much confidence does it give you guys when you have a guy like that you know whatever role you put him in, he's going to be able to execute?
Extreme confidence, and that's the type of people you want on the field. So you try to get him on the field as much as you can, whether that's special teams or offense. And you know if he's in, that his job is done. It's good. His guy's not going to make the tackle. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to run the right route, et cetera, et cetera. So having guys like that, and the more you can build, and having guys like that at all 11 positions on the field, then you have yourself a really disciplined and dangerous team.
Great, Emeka, thank you very much.
What happened last year? How much to the offensive line has that been motivation for this year, knowing that it didn't go well?
Yeah, I mean, that game's been on our minds, you know, since it happened all year in the off season. So I mean, it's been on our mind every day. So like, our minds hasn't changed.
When you look at what happened last year, what did you see as responsible, and how confident are you in correcting whatever those?
Well, I mean, we looked at that right after that game, and I believe that we have changed a lot since then, and I believe that those things that have been talked about last year and the past, and we're looking at those again, and you know, we'll have a response.
There seems like a lot of their pressure comes from the interior. Last year it was on the edges. What do you as tackles have to do to make sure that pressure's not getting out? Is it helping on the inside? Is it just doing your job and worrying about your 1/5? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like being a tackle, what I learned from being a guard and passing, you know, being a tackle now, how you set and, you know, your pass protection can help, you know, take some pressure off your guards, and as a guard, how you say take the pressure off your center. So I think one, just being mindful, but again, we have like different guys on the inside, people like Matt Jones and Donovan, strong guys. So we're good with him.
You guys are, CJ is so good at his bucket. That's pretty obvious. That's a better clean pocket than dirty pocket.
Right.
Does that add pressure to you guys a little bit? If he's kept clean, you guys are moving the ball. Does that just add something? Seeing those numbers and seeing just how good he is when you guys get the ball?
Yeah, but I like, I feel like stuff like that, we've talked together as an offensive line, before games, like, that was our mindset going into, week one. Like, and after that game, like, watching the film, like, when he has a clean pocket, like, you see, how fast we're able to move the ball as an offense. So, it's been on our mind each week. Up to this point, it's on our mind last week with Maryland. And so, for sure, it's definitely on our mind this week,
As a kid from Ohio, how did you take last year's Michigan loss?
Honestly, I felt like I took that loss very hard, and it's not because I'm from Ohio, because I never watched the game as a kid, because my whole family's from Detroit anyway, so like, never cared about it up until you're here. But I feel like even if you do watch it as a kid, it's different when you play here, and like when you experience it, yourself, and you're in that situation that you really know, the importance of being in that game.
I know, you weren't paying that much attention to it, but you probably knew that most year, like Ohio State's dominant in the rivalry, and then your first opportunity to get a chance to play that you guys lose. How has it been around the Woody when you guys are just hanging out and you see stuff on the TV? Like, how have you guys kind of responded to that this off season? And one try to get over it, and then try to move on.
Yeah, like, in that moment to when we lost, just like looking up at the scoreboard, personally, like in my mind, I felt like not only did we, fail our number one goal of when you sign here to become a Buckeye, but I felt like all the past people that kept the tradition of beating them home or away, I felt like, I let them down in that game. So I felt like, as far as that goes, how I felt in that moment, I've been holding on to that, up to this point.
When you got here, they had just lost to Clemson, and so you kind of got thrown into the obsession over that, the score up in the weight room and all that stuff. Has it been that times 20 because it is the locker room? Exactly. It is your rival.
When you get Paris, what toughness has been for there's always for the players different. Have you noticed anything? I know you get a whether out of Coach Day, Nick. Have they gotten tougher? Maybe their expectations, maybe they've been a little tougher on you guys. How about from that side?
I think as like a whole program, the support staff as well, I feel like the entire program has embraced it a whole lot more, you know what I mean? I feel like it comes from like as far as what other teams are saying and like what the media is saying online about everyone talks about how Ohio State, we're talented, we have the skill, we have all these top guys, but it's been in the conversation for the past few years since I've been a freshman. But okay, going in each year, it's always a question of are they going to be tough for some reason, despite the type of guys that come into this team. So I feel like we've embraced that more this year than I feel like what I felt in the past.
When you guys hear things, which were obviously said after last year's game, and yeah, that was last year, how much of a motivating factor will that be when you step on the field on Saturday?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
When you guys hear the things that were said by maybe them last year, even during the Heisman ceremony, things got said, things were said. How much of a motivating factor will that be when you take the field on Saturday?
Yeah, that was like what was said at the ceremony. Was targeted towards us, but at the same time, like his opinions or those opinions of our offensive line doesn't matter. I feel like the only thing that matters is the now, and I think that's what we've been taught in this program. So I feel like until it's put on show on Saturday, then it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
So that come from Florida, or from Georgia, but I think once you hear, like, you're like putting that fire of this rivalry, you know, the same. If you're from Columbus, from Cincinnati, from Georgia, you know, it doesn't really matter. So.
Just a game that you
No, I used to watch Miami Red Hawks. I didn't watch Ohio State. I didn't watch Ohio State. So.
Paris, you said you felt like you like let some guys down, let some of the past Buckeyes down and stuff like that. Did you have conversations with some of those guys, you know, recent Buckeyes and stuff like that, more about the game this past year because of the loss?
No, I haven't. Before that last game, I talked with Michael Jordan, you know, who's now at the Panthers, and I was talking with him, and he was telling me, I believe it was 2016, I think it was the time the double overtime win or something like that. I remember he told me, like, he went out there and looked at Orlando Pace, and he was like, you know, he gave him like a head nod because, you know, he was a true freshman in that game, and he was the first true freshman to start here. And he felt like that whole game he was thinking, I just don't want to let him down. And for him, that was a big moment, you know. And I can't say I've had that special head nod true freshman moment, but I feel like I've made a connection with a lot of past Buckeyes here to the point where I know all the work they've put up. You see the banners up here all through the Big Ten championship, and you can't get there without beating them. So it's all these guys on the poster. I'm thinking about that. I've done it before. I have to continue to do it myself.
How big would it be to avenge that feeling, you know, that feeling you had last year when you were looking up at the scoreboard, like, you know, making good on that? How good would that feel?
That would be huge to do that.
Paris, what do you think of how Enoch and Josh Fryer have played for you guys this year when they've been put in with the starting five?
Oh, they've been phenomenal. Like, you can't really tell when they're in, which is, you know, for offensive liners, you know, is great. Because, you know, if you're sitting at home and watch TV and you can tell somebody else got put in, that's typically a bad thing. So I would say, you know, it's like really nice that we're able to have that flow.
What do you like about like each of their games? Like, what does each of those guys bring to the table?
I would say when I'm in, I don't really see what they're doing, but I think it's kind of like the way they play, kind of like remind them of me, like when I was like a 2 and I used to come in the game, like, you don't know how many plays you have, so you're just rolling off the ball, just trying to hit something as hard as you can and finish. And when you see their game on the film, you see them, they're like making the most of those plays, they're trying to finish. And I think that just speaks a lot about the type of players they are, you know.
Harris, watching this rivalry, were you ready for the physicality of it last year, or was it more than you kind of even expected based on just watching your whole game?
Yeah, I would say that I was, but I would say in a game like this, it's more than just physicality, and I think that's the part of the game that, you know, is different. And I feel like, you know, going into that environment last year as a young guy, and I'm really seeing the, you know, the hostility in the air. Like, wow, like, you know, for me as younger, I'm starting to take it all in. Whereas now, I feel like I can walk in any environment, it's business calm, you know, like, versus me as a younger, I'm like, wow, like, this is cool, I'm really playing here, it's the game. I'm starting to see before, like, you know, we're doing a warm-ups and everybody's yelling in the hallway, whatever, like, you know, so I feel like it's a lot more than just the physicality in the game, you know.
Paris. This defense this year, the way you guys played, the way you guys felt as a defense going into last year.
Honestly, I would just say our mentality taking the field. I think our confidence as a defense and trusting Coach Knowles and each of our position groups, trusting our position coaches that they're going to put us in the right positions to win. It makes it easier for the player when, you know, you can trust the staff and they're going to put you in this position.
And we've heard of that for labor last year, Lewis, you guys are not the same. And how hard is it to play in a game against a good team when that's not the case?
It's extremely hard. You know, you need to come prepared and you need to have your best foot forward. And at times when you don't have that, it's definitely going to make it harder to win, especially against a matchup team, matchup opponent.
Well, you're not from here, so you knew about the Ohio State Michigan rivalry, but you probably weren't that invested in it until you started getting in the midst of the committee here. So as a guy who isn't from Ohio, when you experience a loss, how does that impact you?
It's a lot. Not only does it impact me, it impacts my teammates. Not just my teammates, and my coaches as well. This city, this state takes a lot of pride in that rivalry, and so do we as a team. I think it just shows, how important it is and how much we respect each other.
Does it take a loss to maybe understand it to that level?
It can. We take this loss. It definitely stings a little bit. We use it as motivation.
So what's changed from your perspective, not from the coaches, but for the players, how you guys maybe approach this offseason and approach this year, given that you did lose this game last year?
Just reminding yourself how it felt walking up that field. It was pretty simple. None of those guys, any of the guys in the locker room want to relive that or feel that. So we use that this summer in the off season. We can. We're still using it day by day.
What's it like living with that for you?
It sucks. We're all competitors. Competing at the highest levels, you're going to lose. You're going to lose sometimes, but losing to those guys, it hurts a little bit more. So we just use it for motivation.
Ronnie, Tommy, as you may suspect, is a man of few words, so he didn't talk a lot about his hands injury. When you understand how hard it is to play at this level anyway, and then to play with two, I don't know if they're broken or whatever they are, what would you want to say about how he's performed given his circumstances?
Just the standard. Tommy's probably the toughest guy I've ever, stepped on the field with. You can ask anyone in that locker room, specifically on the defensive side. We look at Tommy wherever Tommy goes, or whatever he tells us to do. We do it. So you need that on the defense. You need that leadership, and Tommy brings that every day. And you're right. He doesn't say a lot of words. He kind of leads by action. So a lot of the guys like that as well.
Do you think that's affected him at all, the injury?
No. I think Tommy's still playing lights out. He's a guy you can depend on, you can count on. He's been doing that tremendous effort this year.
Ronnie, when Coach Knowles was talking about defending the run, he was talking about the escape hatch and knowing where that's going to be for a team where the guy might come out, especially as it applies to Michigan. Can you just describe what that means and what the preparation is of, how they're going to pull guys and that back's going to hit that hole? What do you have to do to be prepared for all of that?
You just got to make the play. We know what they want to do. They know what they want to do, so does the rest of the world. It just comes down to being a man across the field. You just got to execute, do your job at the highest level, play in and play out. So that's our goal. That's what we're going to do.
It looks like when you watch sometimes some of the big runs that Michigan's hit this year, they'll get guys blocked up, they'll get a puller on a linebacker, but sometimes it comes down to that back on that safety. I'm sure, have you seen that at times? Did you expect there's going to be moments where, hey, maybe they're hitting this run for 8 or 10, but it's going to come down to you guys on the back end making sure it doesn't go for 40 or 50?
As a safety, as that last line of defense, you got to be prepared to make that tackle. Because, once they get past you, it's kind of like 6 on the board. So, it has to be a routine play for us on the back end. But, we're there to correct any of the mistakes that happen up front.
How tough is that to fight impulse, to run to the fire? You understand what I'm saying, Ronnie? And play your responsibility, play your gap responsibility, et cetera, for one play to the next when so much is on the line and, players want to make a difference.
You just gotta take a step back and, realize it's a game. You've been doing it the whole season. It's the last game of the year. A lot of the guys got a lot more experience now. You just got to do your job. It's something that we've been taught since day one coming in, and that's all it is.
And you watch Blake Corum on video. He's really good on the bounce play. Hitting up in there and then bouncing out. How does that, not change the way you play? Because everybody tries to play responsibilities and stuff, but like I just said, not to run to where the play might be going because it might be coming to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't really change. You do your job and you do your job at the highest level. When your number's called, you got to make that play. So that's something we've been doing all year, and it won't stop.
How does J.J. McCarthy's ability to make plays after the snap and keep plays alive affect your job?
Anytime you got a quarterback who can use his legs, it definitely adds another challenge. But it's nothing we haven't seen this year. Our coaches will do a great job scheming those guys up, and we'll go out there and compete for it.
What have you? They've had some issues throwing deep, connecting. How do you keep from maybe not? I won't say not respecting it, but what have you thought of their deep passing game this year?
You don't disrespect anything. You go out there and you execute what the game plan is, and that's what we'll do.
Ronnie, you're among the guys.
Two more questions, guys. We got
Right,
to get
you're among the guys walking during senior day. If you would went into that decision to participate in senior day stuff, and any idea in the future yet?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be my last game in this shoot. So, I'm going to cherish it, enjoy it the best I can.
Ronnie, what made you decide that you want to make that decision now to grow after the season?
I think everyone clock starts ticking at a certain point. At some point it's going to be time for everyone to take that next step. I think that's right.
So how do you, how does that change anything on Saturday? Like maybe more motivation going to Saturday?
No, it doesn't change anything. I don't think I needed more motivation than how they did it last year.
So this is going to be your final game in Ohio Stadium. Ohio State, Michigan. It's 11-0 versus 11-0. How do you feel right now? What does it feel like with that game just a few days away?
It's definitely exciting. Definitely eager, but you can't look into it too deep. It's Tuesday. I'm focused on having the best Tuesday practice we've had all year. And then when Wednesdays come, I'll take it by that. We just got to take it day by day.
Great.
Xavier, the moment you were placed on scholarship, I don't remember when that happened. What was that like for you? When exactly did that happen?
So it was the week of the Oregon game. We were actually going through our pregame routine, and Coach Day just kind of pulled me aside. He told me that there was an opportunity for me to be placed on scholarship, and he would like to do that. And so he just kind of told me, and he asked me to, keep it between me and my family, keep, everything focused on the game, and that was my main goal. We came a little short that year, but I just wanted to keep everything focused on the team and team oriented, so that's kind of why it wasn't a big deal.
Had you had previous conversations with Brian or anybody else on the coaching staff like, hey, this could be a possibility down the line, I could earn a scholarship, or was it did come completely out of the blue?
Honestly, coming in, that was my goal. Of course, was to show that I could add value, and just continue to add value to the team, and do so at whatever capacity they give me the ability to do. It was definitely something that me and my parents talked about. I talked about it with maybe a coach here or there, but there was not much open communication, I would say, about it. It was something that I think that Coach Day just saw the opportunity and he kind of executed it.
So you got the scholarship last year. Now this year's been like a breakout year for you. Has this just been like a dream for you? Has this kind of been the plan all along, I guess?
I would say it's definitely a dream. I'm an Ohio kid, Cincinnati, and I grew up a Buckeyes fan. I've had a lot of family come through Ohio State, but I would say that growing up, I always kind of had the idea of being a breakout guy or star guy, and that wasn't necessarily the way that the Lord had ordained it for me for it to go in the way that I saw, and so I feel like there was some maturation that had to go on, and that within my faith, and once I finally had that maturation, I think that the Lord kind of gave it back to me. So
being a guy from Ohio, how does a loss to Michigan impact you?
They're a great team, and the rivalry, the history, everything's rich behind it. So we work that game so much. We work it every day. And so having come up short, it hurts. It's something where I feel the pain not only of the loss. I feel the pain of the state having to go through a year where we come up short, and I think that kind of fuels us day in and day out. I think we got a lot of Ohio kids on the team, and so just having the understanding of that rivalry, even like pre-playing in it, I think that's kind of something that has allowed us to take it so seriously.
So from a player's perspective, how have you seen everyone's approach change this offseason, given how that game went?
I would say you didn't really have a choice. Everybody changed from Coach Day down to the equipment guys. There was a shift, and the players included in that. I think there was a bit of a lax that kind of happened, and I think that lax came back to bite us, and it was kind of like we had to rebite on everything, whether that was our off-season workouts, or whether that was the scheme, the players. We had to look ourselves in the mirror, and we had to really understand, that it's a matchup game. They're an excellent team. They have, excellent infrastructure up there, and so when we're playing against them, we're playing against, someone who is very the playing fields are leveled. So we have to bring our A game, and that really starts from the first workout in the winter, and it carries all the way through the season. So all 11 games and into the 12th. And so I think that the way it kind of changed was rebiting on that and just understanding that if we don't work this game every day, if we're not getting better every day, then we're susceptible to what happened last year. So
because there was no game in 2020 and because of the loss last year, there's guys on this team, so they have their gold pants for 2019, but maybe didn't quite earn the pants on the field the way they'll have a chance to now. Do you get a sense that that's a motivator this week, that differential between wanting to have some ownership of the game this year?
I would say that everybody does a great job of, working the game. I mean, this year, I think we've done a great job, and we're just entering in the game week. But I think that everybody's taking their job, their role seriously. I think that even the scout guys, they're understanding. They're trying to figure out exactly who they are trying to emulate, and they're going to do that to the best of their ability. I think that we do a good job of everybody taking ownership and adding value in whatever role that they have. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's something where people felt like they didn't earn anything in 2019, but I would definitely say that there's there's an urgency. All the marbles on the table, all the cards, everything that we want is right ahead of us. So there's definitely an urgency that everybody's operating with. Like I said, from Coach Day all the way down to the equipment manager. So,
Xavier, you said you were a scout guy, and you were a scout guy, and eventually got the scholarship. Now you're an impact player. What's the difference between being a scout guy and preparing for this game, and then actually being an impact player and getting on the field?
I think that the correct way to approach it, there shouldn't be a difference. But I think that it's easy to get caught up in the fact that I'm not going to have an impact on this game or whatnot if it's not taught the right way, or if your mentality is not correct. I think that the scout players are just as impactful throughout the week as the people who are going to be in that play. They're giving us the look. They have to execute the look correctly. They have to show the same body language and demeanor that the other players or on the other team are going to show, or we're not going to get the look that we need. So I think that there is a bit of a I would say there's a bit of a difference when it comes to Saturday of just executing on the field versus throughout the week, which is executing and giving us a look. But I would say that everybody just as important. We need everybody for this game. In matchup games, there's not much room for error. So the ability that the scout player has to give the look, that's the ability. That's as much ability as we have to succeed.
X, did you think you were going to have small Saturday?
I wanted to. Every time you touch the ball, you have big expectations and you desire to make a play, and that's just for the love of my brothers in the locker room. And I think that every time that I get an opportunity, my goal is to score, of course, to make an impact play and to bring energy to the team. So
when did you realize that you were elusive? It seemed like you're 71-yard line, no one to tackle you,
Yeah.
and you're about to break one for a kickoff return. Like, when did you realize that you had that in you?
I would say I kind of it was a God-given ability. I've been playing football since I was 5 years old, and my first season I played tight end, and then after that I played running back all the way up until 7th grade when I switched to receiver. But just when I was 6, I was having runs kind of that were similar to that. So I would say that's kind of my style of running. It's not necessarily traditional, but I would say that I've kind of been running like that since I was a little kid. So.
Do you think you can got a few more games here? Do you think you can still get one and keep up the return? It seems like you're getting pretty close.
Like I said, every time I touch the ball, I'm trying to make a play. I'm trying to, do it within the confines, of course, of what Coach Day has for me and everything. So nothing too crazy. I'm not going to press too crazy, but I think that when the ball's in my hands, Coach Day always says it's the game. It's the game in your hand. So the ability to bring energy, the ability to just help my team in any capacity that I can. I'm going to give my all to do. So.
Xavier, I'm sorry, I got to ask you this. Are you number 10 because you're X?
So yes, there's a little bit of nuance to it. I did take that into account. The Roman numeral is X. So when the opportunity opened up, I didn't really think about it until last year. And then when the opportunity opened up for me to wear 10, that was kind of the nuance that I kind of coined.
Because somebody in your family has a jersey that has X.
My mother.
That's your mom?
Yeah, my mom.
That's like the coolest jersey ever, isn't it?
Yes. So yeah, I was definitely taken into account when I chose the number.
Okay. They should have, like, instead of the Block O jersey, they should have like the X jersey and let you wear X in the game on your jersey.
Yes, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Be hyper. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you talked last week at length about Dallin Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
Took him under your wing when he first showed up here in June and stuff. And, kind of got apart because you were in the wide receiver room, he was running back room. But how proud are you of him right now? And is he? In fact, he's the guy of record on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's a running back. Mm-hmm. How confident are you that now he can carry the mail? Because obviously he's done it the last 2 weeks.
Right. Just as I said, I'll just kind of echo the sentiment that I said last Wednesday, I believe that was. Coach Alford does a heck of a job getting people prepared. Dallin does a heck of a job taking care of what he needs to be prepared. He approaches his work like a grown man, and I'm confident in him. I'm confident in anybody who Coach Alford puts on the field. I think that we do a great job of having transparent conversation and equipping people in a way that they can be productive on Saturday. And so I'm extremely excited for him. He worked so hard this off season, this summer, coming in. Like I said, he had a hard hat mentality coming in and putting the work in every day. So just seeing that pay off for him, is something special. When you see your brother succeed like that, it's always gratifying.
That's what I was going to say. How does a player's esteem rise after proving that, you know what I mean? If you notice others maybe even treating him a little bit differently now, could be a key cog. Like I was talking with you last week about being a key cog, on this team and stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I think we do a great job of brotherhood, and I think that it doesn't really change when somebody becomes a key player, especially in the locker room. Those are our brothers. We bleed with them, we sweat with them, we cry with them, we pick each other up when others are down. So I don't think that nothing has necessarily changed. But from the standpoint of growing in
stature.
Yeah, in stature or growing in confidence. That's what I was looking for. I think that as soon as you kind of re-identify with yourself, because that's the whole issue is like coming out of high school, you're coming into a new stage, everything's amped up. The competition's better, the speed's faster. They hit harder, they're bigger, everything. So it's kind of just reestablishing to yourself that you can do this. So when a player does, like Dallin, have a game like he did Saturday, I think that allows him to play more confidently and just walk around knowing that he is good enough and he's a great back. I mean he can succeed at this level.
And the thing I was going to follow up on is can you tell his dad that he has a dad who was a big-time star in college and played in the NFL? Can you tell that about him?
I think so.
You know what I mean? From just maybe the way they handle themselves. Go ahead.
Right. I think there's certain guys like a Marvin who, when they come in, they kind of just have a grasp of the game that is just a little different than someone who comes in and is learning from a high school coach exclusively. So I think that you see he has obviously some innate ability, some stuff that he was working on with before he got here, and it's translated to the stuff as well. So.
All right, Xavier, thank you very much. We got to wrap it up.
What happened? This being your senior day on Saturday, just what does that mean to you?
It means everything. It's kind of the culmination of everything that was going on, everything that I've been through here. It's been, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All of it has been it's been a process. It's been a growth. It's been a maturation process. So I think just being able to share this moment with my teammates, with my brothers who have bled, like I said, sweat with me and cried with me, along with my family, who is the only reason I'm in this space, my family in the Lord. I think that those kind of culminating all those things and bringing them to a head and celebrating them, it's always, gratifying.
Is there any maybe specific memory that just stands out in your mind when you think back on that 5-year journey?
I'm a guy who likes to think about the hard times and try to find the growth that was happening in the midst of those hard times. So I would just say, like, there was multiple times my freshman year when the only thing that kept me going was my faith. The only thing that kept me growing was a lot of prayer. When I was wanting to throw in the towel, I was just pray and just ask, like, the Lord, give me a sign, like, that I'm supposed to be here. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And without fail, every time the Lord answered me, and something happened where it kind of gave me that sign that I was supposed to be here, and to just keep hitting the rock and continue to just stay in it. And through it, I've grown so much. I wouldn't be the man you see today without that maturation process, and I think that's why the Lord led me here. And I'm blessed to have come out the back end and be changed and molded and hardened by what was done in the beginning. So.
The Maryland game about being from Ohio and what this game means to you. You're from Columbus. So is there a way to describe just the intensity that you feel for this being from here?
Yeah, it's really kind of hard to put into words if you don't feel it yourself. It's just kind of like I don't know, just growing up knowing this, it's always going to be a team of North versus Ohio State every single year at the end of the season. And all the marbles on the table, and that's kind of just something that I watched growing up, and now being able to live it and being part of it is kind of surreal, but it's also like I have a duty to where I'm from, the people who I grew up with, to get this way.
What's funny is that there aren't as many Ohioans in this game as there used to be on both sides. There used to be a ton. You guys have a lot, but not as many as you used to. A lot of that's just demographics and things like that. But what do you think? Is there any significance you place in that maybe not as many Ohioans are?
I don't think so. No, everybody on both sides know what it's about.
What changed this offseason for you as a reaction to a loss like that?
Everything. The mentality, the way we work out, the way we
Cade Stover in the middle east.
Yeah, we really actually
There's one thing for coaches to run this, to have leadership groups and all that stuff, but players don't have to take initiative and actually want to do that stuff. Have you seen that kind of grow? And are there examples maybe that you'd like to share of moments when?
No, yeah, 100%. I don't know any examples, but guys stepped up for sure. Guys, we addressed the issues. The team meeting, we addressed all the issues. Just open, honest, just cut our hearts open. This is what happened. This is what we can't let happen again. This is what we need to do. And that's kind of the steps we've taken this year.
I know you probably don't pay that much attention to stuff that gets said on social media, but there were things that were said from that program, whether it's the ball on her face stuff or the finesse team stuff. Did you guys kind of internalize any of that stuff? Take that to heart?
Yeah, we heard it.
Man, you're too big to be looking at me like that.
Todd said last week, this offseason was the hardest one he's been a part of. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Why was it so hard for him?
Just kind of reestablish who we are. Just reestablish what got Ohio State to be Ohio State. I feel like we kind of got away from it. Almost felt like Ohio State was supposed to win, but now we gotta go win games, and it's not just as easy as we might thought it was. Me and the younger guys, and watching the older guys win those games.
Sam mentioned after the Maryland game and the offseason, you guys lifted weights at the end. Is that different than years past?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
After the Maryland game, I asked you kind of what changed about the mindset. You said in the offseason you guys lifted every game.
Yeah.
Was that different than years past? Okay.
No, we lifted every year.
Was it a different intensity?
Yeah, most definitely.
Zach, Coach Knowles was talking about how you guys are preparing for Blake Corum, regardless of what's going on right now, injury-wise. How do you prepare for him, and what makes him so challenging to defend?
I'd say his biggest, his best attribute to me is his contact balance. He rarely goes down with the first guy. He definitely got to rally to the football and get hassle, because if not, he can slip through tackles and make guys miss the hole. He's got good patience and good vision. He's a good back. He's a really good running back. So you got to respect that and treat him as such.
Zach, how do you think this defense has played the run this year?
Good.
What have you liked about it in particular, especially on the defensive line? I mean, you're obviously a very good run game defender. Why do you think it's been?
Just just taking pride in it, stopping the run and being physical.
Zach, how was Coach Knowles talked about when he came here? He gave you guys kind of a blank slate. It didn't really dwell on last year's loss to Michigan. What has been sort of his approach to the rivalry like that coming off that loss? Do you like that he kind of gave you guys a blank slate, hasn't really dwelled on that loss, kind of like new coach in that regard?
I don't really know. We'll see today, really, how we address the defense and kind of defensive needs.
Zach, there's been a big emphasis on toughness this year. What do you think makes this team tougher, maybe in years past, or just what separates this team?
Just we've been through some stuff with the team now. We got calluses, we got cuts, we got bruises and scars, and that's the best way to make it tough. Just going through crazy experiences, winning, losing, just knowing that this game is hard. You gotta be tough to go play at a high level.
How much is the quarterback run being emphasized right now in terms of defending J.J. McCarthy? For you guys, you're strong defensive guys, you crash hard, but sometimes containing can be difficult. How are you balancing that?
Yeah, he's definitely dynamic. We gotta keep in mind that he has the ability to pull the ball at any moment and run for a big game. So we just gotta be aware of that and know that that's a possibility.
When you come off the kind of performance you had against Maryland, is there a different kind of high, even going to a game like this that already has so much hype? Do you feel even more confident now?
Confidence, yeah, but this is a whole different challenge, a whole new week, so we gotta go out there and improve it every single week.
In that same vein, do you guys feel like this is the start of a new season? I know you've already played 11 games in a way. It's been building up for this.
I don't know if it's the start of a new season, but we just know the importance of this game. We know that this means everything. This game means everything. So
these two teams being 11-0.
Yeah, it means a lot. To have Buckeye Nation at our backs and being behind us and being there for us, that's definitely gonna help a lot.
You mentioned it being more than just a game. Of course, this is a game specifically where players can forge a whole legacy. Is that something that enters your mind at all as players going through this week?
Yeah, we know this. Coach Nick always says legends are made during this game. So it's a big game, and I don't really know how much to address that. It's the biggest game of the year.
Zach, Coach Knowles was saying how much he appreciates that this defensive line really gets after it and gets after the passer. It almost seems like McCarthy at times almost can invite the rush because he knows he wants to try to escape and get out and run. How do you balance that at all when you want to get after a passer knowing he might want to try to scramble out of it?
We just got to rush smart. And I feel like we can do that, just rush smart and know where the escape lanes are, know where I'm going, know where the other ends are going, the two tackles are going, know where the linebackers are. Just being aware of everything that the defense has going on, all the pieces to it.
And here you are at the end of your senior year. How do you feel about the football that you personally have been playing this year and that you're playing right now heading into this game?
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing well. I feel like I'm making plays and my team needs me to, and that's something that I take pride in. I want to continue to do.
I mean, you've been doing this since your freshman year, but as a senior, I don't know, do you feel it building? And again, you said you take pride in that. I don't know. I mean, it just must feel good to be in this place in your career that you've worked for 4 years, you've been a contributor the whole time, and now here you are. I think, probably playing as well as you've ever played in your life.
Yeah. But like I said, it isn't nothing up until this point matters. Until this game, anything, this game is everything. So just focus on that. Focus on Saturday.
When you say rush smart, you can never lose your head, right? I mean, you said I got to be aware of this. You can never just let's go get this son of a gun right now. That you have to be part of this very disciplined type of scheme.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's you can't go get the quarterback. We're just rushing together. Is what I'm saying. Just knowing, like I said, these escape packages, knowing where he likes to run out to and like where he's likely to run out to. Just being aware of that as you rush, so you know that he does get he might take off through the gap.
You guys have talked about.
You should be doing good against the run this year. Is it good enough to win this game? Do you feel like you have to do anything more than you have done, or what you guys have done is good enough? I guess how do you balance understanding this is a big game and not trying to do anything special, just being who you guys are?
Just playing hard. That's really just gotta play hard as you can for 4 quarters.
Zach, obviously, you guys have been thinking about this game for a year. How do you juggle the emotions of the game and the emotions of wanting to get get this win back from last year, but also staying disciplined and make sure you guys are fitting the right gaps and rushing smart, like you said?
Yeah, just focus on your responsibility every single play. Try not to let the moment get too big, and just play football. At the end of the day, it's football. It's football. We've been doing this since we were kids, but it's a big game, like I said. But just once you go on that field, just focus on your fundamentals and what you've been practicing all week.
Two more questions. Last year was really your first extensive playing time in this rivalry. Were you expecting it to be as physical as it was? I mean, obviously you grew up watching it.
Yeah.
Did you know that it was going to feel that way once you got on the field?
I knew it was going to be physical. I knew it was going to be real physical. Like I said, like everybody saw, we weren't physical enough to match them. That's not a secret. So that's something that we got to change.
What was it? Maybe was there a mental hey, in your life you hadn't seen Ohio State lose them but once in your life? Were you just part of this mindset of hey, we can't lose these guys, or was there any of that? You
Probably.
think?
Yeah, probably.
That's it.
No.
Thanks, Zach.